And now, the general weather around Alaska.
Hello, I'm meteorologist Peter Chan coming to you from the National Weather Service from Alaska region on this Saturday, December 1st, 2024. And before we jump into our show, we have a lot to talk about in terms of some of the highlights. We have some heavy snow falling through areas of the northern panhandle, a little bit of an icy mix central areas as there is a tug of war between warmer air coming in and the precipitation trying to change over to a mix of some snow and rain, a little freezing rain, and then southern areas it'll be mainly rain. There are advisories for wind and blowing snow across the central interior as well as Thompson Pass. And that area there will be through tonight into Monday morning. Another front with moisture and even milder air is going to push up into the Gulf Coast Tuesday into Wednesday. And overall, it looks like the most active weather is going to continue along the Gulf Coast for early and mid-December. So looking at one interesting feature I talked about yesterday was a little slug of Arctic air working its way southwestward down the Yukon-Kuskokwim River basins and pushing out into the Bering. Makoriak has had breezy conditions today, some lighter snow showers, temperature 9 above. We've seen the ice grow from the mainland out toward Nunavik Island, and then St. Paul is in the midst of that push of colder air, windy with snow squalls, 25 degrees as that cold air has already reached the Pribilovs. Meanwhile, back in the Panhandle, Juneau areas had periods of moderate to heavy snow today with fog 21 degrees already. Around 9 inches of snow has fallen in Juneau as of mid-Sunday afternoon with several more inches, even another foot coming as we go through tonight early on Monday morning before things start to taper off. Petersburg did get some fresh snow, but then some rain is falling on top of that now at 37 degrees. And we had some reports earlier around Wrangell and Ketchikan of a little bit of freezing rain, but temperatures have risen above freezing, and that trend will continue here through the early week. Current warnings, the only thing we really have out right now are winter storm warnings for much of the northern panhandle and winter weather advisory for as you get up above Haines toward Chilkoot White Passes. The bulk of the heavier snow is going to fall along the icy Strait corridor in through Juneau, with perhaps another several inches of snow. A few areas could receive in excess of a foot of snowfall before things taper down and we get a little milder air trying to work its way northward. And then up here in the interior, especially north of Fairbanks, White Mountains on over toward Gobbler's Knob going up the lower Dalton Highway, as well as areas around Thompson Pass and Keystone Canyon, we have winter weather advisories for blowing snow through early Monday morning. And looking at the satellite imagery, you can clearly see the moisture coming northward in through the panhandle. There's yet another round. There's yet another low down here off the screen that's going to be lifting northward toward Kodiak Island and the Alaska Peninsula for Tuesday. That's going to force yet another mild front northward that'll bring even warmer air and some more rain or mixed precipitation to areas along the Gulf Coast, and especially as you get up into the inner coastal mountains. We've had, though, yesterday there was a slug of Arctic air over this region. It has now pushed out to St. Paul. You can see these kind of popcornish lower stratocumulus clouds that also contain some snow showers and snow squalls. The leading edge of that cold air is already pushed just north of the Aleutians, and that continues to work its way southwestward. Here's the initial low and front that's pushed up toward the panhandle. There'll be another front with even milder air coming north for the day on Tuesday. But in the meantime, late tonight, early on Monday morning, initial low kind of weakens with just the front draped across southern parts of the panhandle. Here's the hint of that next low. A weak low forms in the wake of that colder pocket of air that's worked its way all the way toward the central Aleutians by the time we get into late tonight. And then on Monday afternoon, still the lingering weak low and trough down here across the North Pacific into the Gulf with this old front starting to wash out. But here comes the hint of the next low, and that low is going to be working its way northward. We do anticipate that low will take a track back toward the Alaska Peninsula, but this front has a lot of mild air, southeast southerly flow of air coming up here into the panhandle. That's what's going to cause additional precipitation to increase along the Gulf Coast and in through the Panhandle, mainly in the form of rain, especially at sea level here as we go through Tuesday afternoon and evening. Meanwhile, farther north, we still have Arctic high pressure centered over Siberia, northern parts of the state into northwest Canada. Not especially strong, but just there is definitely colder air up that way. Take a look at the temperatures tonight. 34 below is the forecast low for early Monday morning around Fort Yukon, and along the Alcan border there will be areas normally cold spots like Chicken and Tok will be down around 30 below. And then here in the Panhandle, temperatures come upwards to around 40. The southern Panhandle still holding on to 17, Skagway, Haines. So that cold air, that's where the snow will continue overnight into early morning. As we go further west, notice 19 there at St. Paul, Pribilov. So that is colder air there, and that cold air is pushed all the way, so temperatures are getting below freezing along the eastern and central Aleutians. Highs will stay below zero along the Alcan border and much of the interior, as well as along the Beaufort seacoast. And temperatures south central, maybe around 20 or so in Talkeetna, Anchorage. But temperatures creeping. Warmer readings into the low mid 40s up into the central Panhandle, even rising up to about 37 in Juneau as we go through Monday afternoon. And then again, another cold night here across areas of the north and eastern interior. 35 below or so around Fort Yukon. We're going to see sub-zero readings, especially along the north slope and along the Beaufort and upper portion there of the Chukchi Sea coast. Meanwhile, temperatures hold at and even a bit above 40 here in the southern and southwestern Panhandle. And then we expect temperatures Tuesday afternoon. Look at this, could be 50-degree reading there around Clawach and Craig, Prince of Wales Island, because we have that another front coming north with even milder air, more rain along the coast, a mix and snow in the higher elevations of the intercoastal mountains. High still, though, below zero up there through the Yukon Flats along the Alcan border and North Slope, Arctic coast. Maybe a little warmer again, back up upper 30s to near 40 around Dutch Harbor. But still cool there for areas of the Panhandle. And a quick check. So December 7th through the 11th, we get through the first full week of December. Very likely we'll see above normal temperatures over the state, especially the southern and southeastern half quadrant, whatever you want to call it, back through the Panhandle. All that tells me is that to have that kind of signature, we're getting south flow coming in up off the North Pacific, which when you have southeast southerly flow, that's mild, moist air. It's December. There's still cold enough air for snow in certain areas, so precipitation is going to average above normal. So any of the mountains, any of the intercoastal mountains, the Talkeetnas, the Alaska Range, Wrangell, St. Elias, they're going to get some heavy snowfall in this time frame. Now, lower elevations, it's going to be rain or a mix of precipitation, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. But again, we expect precipitation to average above normal across much of the state, especially across the southern southeastern quadrant of the mainland and over the Panhandle. Now, taking a look at the month of December, we expect temperatures to average above normal for the month of December across the southern two-thirds of the mainland, especially the southern half of the mainland from, say, the Alaska Range and lower Yukon Valley southward, including the Panhandle and along the Gulf Coast, extending out along the length of the Alaska Peninsula. And then precipitation with this sort of pattern, again, implies some sort of southeast southerly flow of moisture coming up out of the North Pacific with the storm track. So there is the potential that precipitation may average above normal for the month of December over the southern southeast quadrant here of the mainland and in through the Panhandle. So that does not preclude the potential for some heavier snowstorms, and certainly up in the mountains that would be the case. But kind of keep an eye on things because the weather pattern is going to remain active here through the first, at least reasonably time frame we can look at the weather ahead. Over the next 2 weeks, early to mid-December, we expect active weather along the entire Gulf Coast. And exactly how the storm systems play out and where they impact, that comes kind of more on a every few day interval. But stay tuned to later forecast. It looks like we are going to have active and at least a little warmer than normal December.